Good morning, sunshine. Welcome to Morning Inspiration with Friends with our host, Miss Inspiration. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe as you sit back and listen. Well, good morning. Good morning, guys. Happy Monday. It is your girl, Tanisha Shanae, Miss Inspiration here. We are back. Sorry, I'm really trying to get my momentum back. Like it is becoming challenging. But this morning, this message it was like, we gotta talk about this. Because I talk about this often, right? I always talk about finding your happy, figuring out what that means, because we all deserve it. And yesterday, I had such a heartbreaking conversation with someone. I could feel it because energetically I can feel things. But this person shared with me, no, I was like, "Are you happy?" And they were like, "No, they're not happy." And knowing this person and knowing how we define happiness, I said, we got to talk about this. Because I talk about this often. I have shared this with people. People have called me crazy. But do you know I found my happiness in my broke season, my broken season, the season that I almost lost everything, like was this close to being homeless, being in debt, having no money, nothing in my account. But when I focused that relationship with God, that took me to another level. And it allowed me to figure out and realize that I have been trying to define happiness based off of what society was defining happiness on. Some people define happiness based off of how much money they make, or if they're in a relationship with someone, or if they have children, or if they have a bigger house, a newer car. That's what they associate happiness with. And I'm here to tell you, I had all of those things. I was a homeowner at 22 years old. I had accomplished so much by the time I was 22 years old. And I still wasn't happy. I remember getting my master's, celebrating, having this big party. And when everyone left, I was not happy. And I didn't understand why, because I was checking off all of my goals, right? I made a list. I go after them, I accomplish them, but that feeling, that void, it was still within me. And it was just like, why aren't you happy? And I just never could make sense of it. And when I went through that dark season in my life in 2015, and many of you have heard this, and I'm not going to go fully into details, but when you're like that close to losing every single thing and about to be homeless, and you've never experienced anything like that, and all you have is God, and God is right there with you and take you through that journey, and then you start figuring out that there are things out there that you truly enjoy doing, things that don't cost money, things that won't break your bank. And I started to tap into doing those things more. I started to spend more time in nature. I started to go to, in New York. I'm from New York City, for those of you, but I live in Tulsa now. But when I was living in New York, we have the New York waterway, so the New York City ferry, not the Staten Island ferry, but the New York City ferry. And at that time, the ferry, you was able to take it to from like Lower Manhattan to parts of Long Island. I'm sorry, Long Island City, which is in Queens, or you can take it to Far Rockaway Beach, which would allow you to go to the beach. And that's what I started to do. I realized that I did in fact like the beach, because we wasn't raised going to the beach. Like my mom, she wasn't taking us to the beach like that. If it was like my aunts and my cousins, yeah, but my mom herself was not packing up and taking us to Coney Island Beach. And we didn't drive, so we wasn't going to the nicer beaches either. So I started to do those things, and I started to just enjoy the city, and I started to do things that were 100% free. I had no money in my pocket, had nothing to me. I did have an EBT card, and once in a while I would stop and give me like some snacks from Trader Joe's, and I would go and enjoy those things. And I started to realize it had nothing to do with what society was telling me of what happiness was. And I started to redefine what that was. And when I did that, that's when I started to see and realize I had to stop looking at life the way everyone else was. I had to go deeper and I had to realize that it was not based off of materialistic things. Happiness is very subjective, right? I'm sharing what brings me happiness, to not impose to tell you that that's going to make you happy, because it might not. But I'm telling you that because I want you to figure out what's going to satisfy you. Me moving to Oklahoma was one of the best decisions for myself. I found even more happiness here, right? Because the one thing a lot of people don't know about Oklahoma, Oklahoma is such a sunny state, super sunny. It could be freezing cold outside, but if that sun is out, oh my gosh, it's like the best feeling on earth. And so I get to experience that every single day. Whereas in New York, when I would go outside, it's nothing but tall buildings. So I did not get to see or feel the sun. I would have to intentionally go somewhere that was not surrounded by tall buildings for me to feel the sun. So I now have the ability to just go straight to my backyard first thing in the morning, or in the evening, I can catch the sunset in my front yard. Right. And I found happiness, having that peace, hearing the birds. Now I'm being able to sit and identify what a blue jay sounds like, what a cardinal sounds like, because these are birds that are in my area and they're adding to my happiness. They're adding to that ability to enjoy just that simple peace. Right. And so when I share that with this person yesterday, because again, this is an individual making a lot of money. Right. So this is why you do constantly hear people say, money doesn't make you happy, because it's how you make the money too. Some people, and I've experienced this, I used to work 60 hours a week at my first big girl job after college. 60 hours a week. 60. That was every week for like months. I was bringing in the money. Man, I was going to Coach. I literally was like living in Coach at that time. This was back in the early 2000s. So all the conversations now about Coach, we was having them back then, okay? In the 90s and the 2000s. But I was going to Coach and I was getting all these bags. And I'm going to be very honest. When I reflect on that season, I was not happy. I was very miserable. I hated what I was doing. The people that I was working with made my job even harder. And although they were constantly approving me to do this overtime, or sometimes they just needed me to do the overtime, and I was just showing up and I was getting the money, I literally have thought I had suicidal thoughts during that season of my life in my early 20s because of the stress. I was attaching myself into relationships that I did not want to be in, but because people were telling me this is what you're supposed to do, graduate from college, get your job, make your money, get into a relationship, get married. I was on that path, and everything about that path was so miserable because I didn't own my time. And now the time that I did have free, I was giving it to someone that I didn't even want to spend time with. I need somebody to let me know this is making sense to you, because if you have done this before, then you're definitely in the right conversation. You're right here. So something else that person said to me yesterday was that happiness is not in my cards. And if you feel that way, I want you to realize that it's time for you to redefine those expectations. It's time for you to redefine what those cards mean. What does that mean? Right? That, to me, when I heard that, I heard disappointment, I heard exhaustion, I heard comparing, right? A lot of us are still comparing our lives to other people. And I always say to people, don't compare yourself to anyone else, because they might look happy on the outside. They might look like they're really enjoying their life, but we don't know. But what we do know, and what we have evidence of, is that there's a lot of people out there like Kate Spade, like Robin Williams. These are people that had everything that some of us will pray for, that we will wish for, but we don't know what internal demons that they're really dealing with. We don't understand that. So we're looking at it and then we're just like, man, I'm never going to get that. Most of us are never going to be millionaires. But can you still be happy in the season that you're in today? Can you be happy if you never make $1 million? Can you be happy if you never buy a house? If you never get married? Can you be happy? So you have to start looking at that and stop thinking it's not in my cards, and redefine what those cards mean. This is your destiny. This is your lane. And I always say, if you talk to God and you get on the path that God has for you and you accept that path, it makes it so much easier. It makes it easier. Like I had to get into quiet spaces with God when I'm just I wanted children, right? I'm 41 years old. I'll be 42 in August. And I'm just like, God, look, if it is in your will, I had to release that. Because it's not something I'm gonna go, like two of my friends from high school, they just had babies. So 41-year-olds just had brand new newborns. Shout out to them, and I love that for them. And so when that happened, I was like, all right, God, what am I going to do now? Because I still have this desire. And then I had to just realize, Tanisha, will you still be happy if you never have children? And I have to figure out how to live in that and not sit and say, well, it's not in my cards, so I'm just never going to allow that to be my reality. I'm never going to allow myself to enjoy everything else that I have, right? This is why you hear people say gratitude is so important. The second thing a lot of people are doing is that you're defining happiness and you're doing it with social media. Now we got to get to a point where we're saying, it's time for me to define my happiness and not even take anything in consideration about social media. You got to look at places, your environment, right? If you are thinking about freedom, stability, your everyday things, purpose, adventure, like you have to now make that definition. So it's pushing me for the month of March. One, I haven't done a vision board and I haven't held any vision board conversations or live sessions. And we're going to have that this week. We're going to have a live session where we're going to talk about our creating, because I don't like to really create a vision board. I rather focus more on goals because I feel like sometimes we get stuck in the dreamland, and I try not to stay there too long because I know myself, I can stay. But I realized that once I started to put my goals out there and kind of put myself in a space of identifying what it was that I wanted, and I didn't look at what anyone else had. Right, 2 years ago, I went to a vision board party, and I noticed, I did an observation. There were about 40 people in the room, and there were some people that walked around and they was just looking at everyone else's, and every person that they stopped at, oh, I like that, oh, I like that, oh, I like that, I like that, I like that, I like that, I like that. And then they went back and their board had like 50 pictures. And then when they got to my board had about 10 pictures. And they were like, well, you don't what happened to your vision? I said, no offense. I said, but I watched you walk around. I said, you picked up everyone else's vision. I said, whereas I sat here and I have a clear focus of the vision that I want. I said, and you see how yours is cluttered? I said, and there's no offense to that. I used to want a lot of those things too. I used to want multiple cars, multiple houses, all these different things. And now, as small and simple as it is as going to the beach or being in nature, listening to the water, and that doesn't have to be the ocean. It could be a lake, it could be a river. I don't need a bunch of money so that I can buy things. I would rather pour into other people. That's the one prayer that I have. God, bless me so I can continue to be a blessing to others. There are people out there with ministries and businesses that I would love to continue to support on a higher level. You see how I said I'm not waiting until I get it. I want to support them at a higher level. And that's what I would love my money for. Because when I went to Colombia last year, I met two people, and they have moved from the United States, and now they're like pretty much just traveling the world to different countries that they want, in 2 suitcases and a book bag. And I was like, dang, man, that gotta be something pretty special. That most people go from big houses, and these two people each have 2 suitcases and a backpack, and that's all that they have. And they seem like some of the happiest people. They're happy in love, they're happy in life, they're happy in adventure, they're happy in everything that they have defined what happiness was. And I admire that so much. And I took that with me, and I take that with me as I continue to redefine what happiness is. Because look, the reality is my happy in New York is a different happy in Oklahoma. I had to learn about the things that I enjoy doing out here because we don't have an ocean. If any of you have been following me, you probably know I used to go to the beach all the time. Like I would just wake up in the morning, Reese Beach. I think it opened up to the public like 7:00, meaning you had to pay for the parking. And I would go before then, so I can catch the sunrise and I can avoid paying $20 for parking. And I would do that. I don't have the beach. Oklahoma is literally smack dab in the middle of this country. And now I got to redefine that. So I could have been stuck on, oh, there's no beach. I can't have the ocean, man, and just having an attitude and been frustrated. And I had to realize you got to redefine that. You got to focus. You can't just only focus on ocean. You just like to be next to water. And then it just boiled down. You just like nature. And I never knew that because I wasn't raised in the environment of nature, right? So your happiness is going to be built and you have to build it. You don't just stumble upon it, right? You design it and you have every ability to design that. It starts with those small choices that you make every day. It starts with those boundaries that you place around other people and from other people. It's about putting yourself in the right environment that's going to allow you to be happy. My attitude and my energy shifted so much in 2023 when I moved here. People saw a different person all throughout 2024. People still reach out to my mom. And your daughter seemed really happy in Oklahoma. Like, are you sure she's not pretending? People don't believe it because in their minds, who wants to live in Oklahoma? Who wants to be there? You was in the best city in the world. New York City is an amazing city for the people that belong there. Tanisha don't belong there. Not full time. Not full time. That's not my environment anymore. My spirit doesn't need all that excitement. I don't need the flashes. I just need some peace. I need some less traffic. I need some sun, right? And you have that ability to create that. So you start seeing people moving and they're doing the things that they love to do and they're in the environments that they're thriving. A lot of people are going to be bothered by that. And it's nothing that we can do about that. But what we can do is look around at the people that are around us. And if they're not making us happy and if they're stressful and they're not driving and they're pushing out onto you, you got to look at how the people that you're spending the most time with. What habits do you have and what is your alignment? Stop saying that happiness isn't in the cards because it is in the cards for you, but it's your choice. And when we say that we don't have a choice, that means that we have surrendered to our environment or to a circumstance. And so I don't want you to do that. I don't want us to look at that and get defeated because we always have a choice. Most people don't exercise them. And that's the difference. A lot of people don't exercise the choices that they can make. So yes, it's on the surface, it sounds like, see, I'm defeated. I can't do it, Tanisha. It's never going to be because I don't have this choice. But baby, I'm here to tell you, you do have a choice. You have the ability to take everything into your control. No one owns you. No place, no job, no person, no one owns you. So I want to share that and I want to encourage us today. If you know someone out there that just really feels like they're never going to be happy and it's not meant for them, send them this message. You don't have to be happy like your friends, like your family. You don't have to do any of that. You can go out there and do everything that is meant for you. And you can enjoy it and you can have such a great time doing it. And then guess what? Even if the people that you're close to, if they don't believe in it and they're not rocking with it, you are going to find new people on your adventures that are going to have the same mindset and same desires. And that is how we start to slowly build our community and we start to build our tribe, as you hear people say all the time. That's how you do it. So I want you to go and find your happiness. Do it for yourself. Let the month of March be the month that you say, you know what, I'm gonna choose something for me. I'm gonna something I've always tried, something I always wanted, and go out there and do it. Because this is your life and you deserve to be happy. Everyone deserves to be happy. And again, our happy is not going to be the same. It's so subjective. So I want you to take action and take ownership of that and go out there and do it. So start defining it. And this is a great place to do that because, like I said, I talk about happiness. I talk about finding your happy, finding your purpose on all of those different things. So you're in good company if you stay here. So if you're on YouTube, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and definitely be a part of this family over here. If you follow me on Facebook, tap in over there as well. And as you see below, Instagram and TikTok, you can also connect with me. My content is everywhere because I want to be that person that's going to inspire those to think outside of the box and get outside of their norm and go after what they truly have desired for themselves. So I am your girl, Tanisha Shanae, Miss Inspiration. I hope this message has inspired you. Share it with someone, whether it's on your timeline or your stories, and help someone out there who is looking for their own happiness. I love you guys. Have a good one. Be well and be blessed.
Wow, Tanisha, that was a powerful message. I hope everyone was blessed by today's message. Listen, if you are not tuned in, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Meet us for morning inspiration with friends every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m.-ish CT time. See you next time, friend.